Afternoon to everybody, and I can say that it seems to me that the word of the day is cooperation, coming from the previous roundtable around this topic anyway, and try to combine a collaboration with the topic of this roundtable seems to be quite difficult, since the roundtable sounds potential impact of the development of hypersonic vehicles and weapons on international security at the global as well as regional level. So it's not, I don't know, but we try to understand if possible to combine collaboration with defense. Before starting, I want to tell to Gregory that he can feel free to talk whenever he wants, take a microphone. Could be useful to have your knowledge about defense and about these topics. So, as Pino said before, we have three personalities. We have Vincenzo Camporini, a former general, former chief of Joint Defense Staff, former Air Force chief of staff, now vice president of Istituto Affari Internazionali. Pasquale Preziosa, for general, former Air Force chief of staff, and Matteo Frigoli, that's an independent researcher. So two, I can say, top-level representative of the Italian military class and a researcher. At the beginning of this round, I would say, let's take a very brief idea. Please answer as in a shorter way you can to this question. What's your opinion about to know how relevant is for you the impact of hypersonic weapons on military, industrial, and political strategy? Well,
it's a very, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to talk here about this very wide and large issue. With regard to the military implications, I think that basically I will take the initial thinking from what has been said before in the previous. It is very likely that the military drivers will be the ones which will, in a way, alone make a step forwards. It's such an exotic technology, an exotic set of technology which will require some thrust from areas where profit is not the main factor. And we have seen that in what's going on today outside Europe, in the US, in Russia, in China. That's why I will focus my intervention not very much on the subject which has been offered to me, but on the fact that Europe is absent. Let me spend some words about that.
John Caprini, wait a minute, because we go on asking what they talk about this topic, then you go on with your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
General Preziosa, your opinion, the impact, how relevant it is? Because I could say that the ultimate weapon has always been in the history of mankind, the power, the bow, the arrow, everything was the ultimate weapon. The hypersonic, someone says the ultimate weapon, but I'm not sure. What do you think? What is the impact, in your opinion? Then I ask the same to you, Matt.
First of all, thank you for this invitation. And so just we are around this table today because Chinese has reached, like Russia, some big results on hypersonic. This is the first reason we are here. Second, hypersonic is an air power system. Air power is back. It's going to revolution all our doctrine and strategies. Hypersonic has been built just to break the A2AD area. This is at our advantage, but on the political side, I mean, Hypersonic is going to crash the missile defense. Now, the nuclear is back, and the race for the nuclear and for armaments is back. This is the big revolution and why we are here.
Perfect. It seems to be the first assessment on the topic. Matteo.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here with these personalities and to talk at this round table. And when we speak about hypersonic weapon system in the near term, I think that we have to concentrate on the issue of hypersonic missiles. What are the issues in synthesis? We don't know if we detect the boost stage on this missile. We don't know where the missile is going. We don't know where the missile is while we are talking, and we don't know, unless we rely on certain intelligence, we don't know what is the objective of these missiles. What is the consequences of this technical behavior of these new weapons? This is that if we are the decision makers of a state that think to be under an hypersonic strike attack, we will decide in a degraded environment. This is why. This is because we will have a little amount of time to decide, to think, to communicate, and to implement our reactions. And another relevant issue is that hypersonic weapon systems that are fielded now by Russia, the United States are going to be field these weapons, China will follow later, and in this moment strategic implications. If we look at the nuclear doctrine of the US, if we look at the military doctrine of the Russian Federation, if we look at the science military book of the Chinese government, it is mentioned that hypersonic weapon system, even if armed with conventional weapons, has right now strategic implications. So, international security, strategic stability is going to be a fluid subject. Liquid subject, exactly. It's going to be a liquid subject. And so it will be complex, more and more complex to deal with strategic stability, to deal with threats, to deal with international security, with business as usual measures. We have to think about new arms control measures to avoid miscalculations, to avoid misunderstandings and accidental actions.
Thank you for your scaring words, because it's a good starting of our conversation. And let's go back to General Camporini. You are talking about Europe, the problem of Europe.
Yes, but it is very interesting to react to what has been said, because as a matter of fact, I think that with the introduction of such a possible weapon, we are in a way back to the 60s, when there was no defense against ICBM, and so the concept of MAD was the concept which made us a peaceful war for so many decades. So in a way, from the doctrinal point of view, I do not see much difference from those times. The point is that since then, defensive weapons have been developed, so there was a kind of revolution in the international affairs which ended with the defeat of the Soviet Union. Now we are back to a similar situation as we had in the 60s. So I'm not totally concerned. Of course, time reaction is limited, but I continue to to be to trust the common sense of the big powers. And since these weapons will not in the near future be available to smaller powers, which might lack the common sense which we grant to the big ones, I'm not so concerned. But the point, let me go back for a while, for a moment, to my initial thinking about Europe. Europe is doing nothing, and is doing nothing not only in this field, but in many other technological fields. The point is that this technology does not offer profits in near term, so there must be the initiative of someone at government level to launch the ball. And Europe can do so, but it is not doing. In many fields, Europe is just lagging behind, developing new things which are the old things for the others, and not thinking on the future. But this is not true throughout Europe, because we have seen several other projects, I will name two, which have demonstrated that given the proper amount of funding and the proper final objective, the European technology can do things. Galileo and Copernicus, there was no profit appetite for those projects. It was a political initiative taken by the Commission, of course with the approval of the governments. Funds were offered, and we see the results. So why is not Europe taking the initiative to launch some programs in high-tech technologies, which the hypersonic flight is one? And don't tell me that there is no clarity about the requirements. The requirements will come later, when we, the military, will see what can be possible. Then we will offer our idea of the requirements. But so far, I'm afraid that the military class is not aware of what can be possible, because it is not on the table. So I believe that the initiative should be taken multilaterally in Europe to launch a program of a higher ambition than the copy of the rapier which is being now designed by our industries.
Yes, but it seems to me, that my personal opinion, that talking of Europe, talking of something that can be done in Europe is like to think of running with a great number of teapots on your end, all one after the other, and try to take them without falling. And in this moment, to put together something in Europe seems to be really very, very, very hard. That's personal opinion, because it's two fragments, political, psychological, cultural, in Europe, to obtain a certain path to do something.
Yes, if you are talking about political initiatives. But when we are talking about a technology objective, I believe that people of goodwill will be willing to stand together, coming from different countries, from different cultures, in order to obtain a result in the forefront of technology. Again, the Galileo program is an example. It is not easy, it took time, but today we have a system which is increasingly offering capabilities at a level which is for sure better than what is provided by the US or the Russian or the Chinese equivalent.
There is something more to say about Europe.
I think we could write a lot of books about Europe. And still, Why? Because Europe is not complete. When we speak about Europe, Europe never been Europe before. There is no model that we could compare, could copy to build a new Europe, to build a Europe, a European Union, to complete the European Union. What we are doing today, is just to find the solution of new problem never faced by other federations. Europe is full of culture, and this could be a benefit or, as in this case, a way to slow down the pace of the Union. This is the first thing. Second thing, speaking about hypersonic. Hypersonic need heavy money, full stop. If you have money, you will be on the technological trajectory that has been designed by others. If you do not have money, you will be never a player. Now, the European Union, look to the figures of European Union. It could be a great power, but maybe we don't know this, and we are not acting as a great power. What to do? I mean, this is the problem. I think collaboration with transatlantic collaboration is important for Europe. If we are going to lose the transatlantic collaboration, I mean, we are going to lose a lot of other things related to. But some signals are not encouraging. I was just reading the project, the FCA automotive project with Renault, Mitsubishi, and I think, I read very good, Trump said no to the initiative. This means that collaboration must be done in the European arena, especially in the military, because if you need to be interoperable, I mean, you need collaboration since the beginning with the industry.
Yes, I make this question to Matteo. Yes, I agree, but we are talking about US, Russia, and China. And we can assume that they are in the same position, the same level, more or less. China may be a little less, but technologically speaking. Can be Europe a player that we compare, since Europe must work with US, of course? In other words, can we be a player, somehow a competitor, or we will be for all our lives as a second level player?
No, we must be a competitor, and I think we must rely on our indigenous weapon systems. So we need a real European integration about defense. This is not meant to be that we need tomorrow, for example, European army. I believe that interoperability or weapon system built in Europe are useful, and why? And why it could be the case for an hypersonic European weapon system? That's my personal point of view, because I don't believe that hypersonic missile can win a war. I'm not to win a war alone. I think that win a war is a totally different argument. But if we look at Europe, Europe can project soft power, and hypersonic weapons can hold extremely large areas at risk. We don't need a great large arsenal of thousands of hypersonic missiles. We can finally start to project, to extend our influence, our power, yet this will need unanimous political point of view between all the European leaders. But there are weapon systems that can be in our interest, and I believe that the hypersonic weapon systems, all these kind of technologies, are in our interest, because we can finally expand our so-called soft power. We can send a signal to our competitors, signaling that we can hold some areas at a real risk of coercion, of aggression, and that we can react without the need of necessarily the need of the US, for example. So we have the tools to rely on our own forces. We must do that. We just have a...
Yes, but we can deny that the possibility of detecting hypersonic weapon, in which way, we don't know at the moment, but the system of early warning is owned only by US and Russia at the moment. So we will be forced to be a second level player compared to the other one. Even China, that is much more higher than us, when I say us, I say Europe, of course, than us, but is a step under US and Russia, is developing hypersonic, but it has not the same level of early warning system like Russia and US. So they are a little less than the other two players, but we are a lot less than I mean, if we don't have any possibility to detect an attack from them, we will be always in a second level. What do you think?
Yes, this is the problem that we're facing. For example, if you launch an ICBM from the United States towards Asia, it's impossible at the beginning to decide to see where is directed in China or against Russia. This is the first problem, and this is a problem that was faced at the beginning when someone was asking to use ICBM with not nuclear but with conventional weapon, as a conventional weapon. Is look, when you start an ICBM, I mean, you are not able to distinguish at the beginning the target towards Asia. Now the problem of hypersonic is that all the radars, infrared and so on, are useless. Okay, for you is not possible to defend at this moment. I do not agree that China is at a lower level than others. I mean, I think China is developing a lot, is even doing a lot of propaganda, but they are delivering a lot of things. But the real objective of target of China is to regain sovereignty in the Pacific Ocean. Now, the hypersonic, because will be nuclear, not conventional, this will oblige the fleet of the United States to stay out of the range. This means that the South China Sea will be, I mean, China will have the dominance of their sea. This is the aim for China to build the hypersonic. And for this reason, I'm going to add, they are not interested to negotiate to anyone any nuclear or other assets.
John Campolini, it seems to me that we, as Europeans, are running the risk to see the hypersonic vehicles passing over us under a real point of view, but under even a political point of view. As I was saying before, it seems to be that we are cut off from everything. We can collaborate, as you told me before, but we have no access at the higher level in order to use this collaboration and to use the weapon that we can put together collaborating in Europe.
Yes, but it is not only a matter of weapons, it's a matter of lack of initiatives. Because we have the technological capabilities, for sure these are available in Europe. We have been witnessing what we can do in several fields. It's a matter of initiative and it's a matter of money. What General Pizzolo said, we are talking about heavy money. And this is a basic requirement for industry. If I am a CEO of a company, I will put my mental resources, my best brains, to do things which, where I can see any profit. If I do not see any profit, if I do not see any program, I will switch those resources to other fields. It is not me who is saying that. I listened to the CEO, a former CEO of Airbus, saying, well, I'm not interested in investing in military business because there are no programs available. I can invest my resources in civilian fields where I have, for sure, some profit to gain. And so if money is not made available by the institutions, we will stay below and we will see the hypersonic technology flying above us, either ideally or physically. The point is that, yes, it is heavy money, but I'm not sure it is so heavy. If Russia made so many progress in the field, Russia, which has a GNP at the same level of the Netherlands, which is in a very deep economical crisis, which has all its available money coming from energy, with the oil price below $60. If they are able to invest in such a way to obtain results, it means that the money required is not so big. But at least there must be an initiative to make available some money. I don't see that, and this will make us, all of our small states in Europe, depending on what's going on in Beijing and in Washington and possibly Moscow, without having anything to say.
Yes, I wanted to take up something what you were. It's on. It should be on. No.
Okay, grida che è meglio.
Okay, I used to teach in this class without the microphone, so I can do it. I want to pick up what Zera Camporini was saying because I like the parallel with going back to the 60s and nuclear. But I would like to take it, the provocation, one step further. Let's say Europe builds hypersonic systems. Somebody puts the money there and we build them. Who gives us the nukes to put on top of them? I've been thinking now for about a year and a half that what Europe needs is European nukes, not US nukes. We need our own, period. Now, then we can think about delivery systems. But we need our own deterrent, of course, with huge political problems about the finger on the button. I'm not denying that. But I think that hypersonic is going to be one of the delivery systems. But what are we going to deliver? So let's just, you got me thinking about that. Thank you.
I think that this can be an answer that can be shared between General Camporini and Prezioso, of course.
First of all, read my book. I mean, there must be in Europe new initiatives on the defense. We need to defend Europe as it is. And I think there is the possibility, it's a political decision. What we need is just a European Defense Act. But, I mean, after we need foreign relations and so on, but that is important. And I think we could proceed step by step. Okay? This is the first thing. Second thing, hypersonic, I said, is a nuke. There is no conventional, okay, you could use, but that's a nuke. For this reason, Europe needs to be nuke, because the combination of nuke and conventional is giving you the strategy to protect your country. What we need is just to protect our country, to give more security to our citizens. And we could do if we have an asset as a Europeans, okay? Why I was telling you that Trump said no to the fusion of FCA, because of national interest. National interest, American first, I mean, for the President of the United States is more important than others' collaboration. For this reason, we could say European first. And we need to be protected, because there will be no other nations that could protect Europe other than Europeans.
This may seem really a dream, given what's going on today in Europe, in the European countries. But let me recall you that the biggest step forward towards European integration were made when disaster was looming ahead. So I tend to be optimistic. We will find some way to make step forwards towards a ever closer union, as has been described in the treaties, which is the basic requirement for any decision in the field, which General Prezioso has said. Of course, you cannot talk about any strategic capability, including nukes, if we do not have a real union. But again, let's be optimistic. Because in the past we had similar examples, even in our past. Do you recall the hostilities between the Italian small states in 1848? There were a bunch of idealistic people who were thinking of unity, but well, that was totally outside the feeling of the majority of the people. Do you recall the hostilities between the different American colonies in 1770, before the revolution started? Again, history tells us that it is possible. And it is not only possible, it is a must if we want to have a saying in our future.
Matteo Frigoli, you work a lot in Europe, in Vienna. This is political center of Europe, and in Great Britain. It seems to me that we are talking of two parallel topics. One is the collaboration, it's a scientific collaboration that is installed, of course, in order to achieve maybe every kind of new technology in the hypersonic environment. The other one is the defense collaboration. I'm still very pessimistic and skeptic about this possibility. What do you feel?
I have personally felt that the collaboration between European countries, European industries on this topic, on these topics, have been not structured, but just occasional. Just, we can say, adventure, when we have built together aircraft, anti-missile systems. It was not really a pan-European, ever a pan-European project, but it was, they were projects made by okay, you are voluntary states, so we don't have a structure, we don't have rigid rules to follow in this environment. We need the rules, we need the political will, which we translate in bigger rules, institutions, and then we will have a European project where we can put together our resources in an efficient way. And I want to say a word about the security of Europe through nuclear weapons. We are talking about deterrence, and deterrence is made to send us security and a strong signal to our competitors. So if we will have our nuclear weapons and our own deterrent arsenal, we will have to think about it, and we will have to have a flexible deterrent. So it's not just a matter about having a nuclear weapon, but do we need a multi-megaton nuclear weapon to enhance our deterrent, or we need a credible little arsenal of, for example, low-yield nuclear weapons. Low-yield nuclear weapons that are now trendy, I should say. The USA are just developing a low-yield nuclear weapon. Russia has an arsenal of 6,000 non-strategic, so-called non-strategic nuclear weapons to employ in limited or even local conflicts. So it is, we can say, okay, we want nuclear weapons, but it is a subject where complexity, I think it's the word, it's the key word.
You're approaching the end of this round table, and I would like to finish with the positive words compared to the scare words at the beginning of the round table about the risks that there are. So, since the technology is going on and the arsenals are getting bigger and bigger between the US, Russia, and China, do you see, and I start from do you see the possibility, the need of a hypersonic treaty between these superpowers?
Thank you. Yes, a treaty, so political will behind the treaty. I believe that there is this political will between the three great competitors. Why? Because the three great powers will benefit from an enhanced communication, from erase the misunderstanding, the point of where we can undertake accidental actions. And this why? Because we can understand, we can say that national security can benefit from a mutual restraint when we talk about weapons. So, what is the reasoning behind this? It is that I don't really need always new weapons to feel secure for national security objectives. But when I will need new weapons, I will have to push this objective. Hypersonic treaty, yes. My personal point of view, what could be the key points? Monitoring of the payload, so we will know what hypersonic, which type payload hypersonic weapons we carry. Conventional weapons, nuclear weapons, low-yield nuclear weapons. Inspections. A fixed number of deployment and a fixed number of deployment of hypersonic weapons and fixed places for the deployment. I believe that this could be some key points around an imaginary treaty about hypersonic weapons.
Thank you.
Just to close, I mean, I don't think, European Union must be as the others. To negotiate with others, you have to have the same things, the same card to play, otherwise, you will be a loser. Second, it's not time for negotiation now, because China is not interested, Mr. Trump said just 2 days ago that he's thinking if delay for 2 years the new START agreement with Russia about nuclear. By the way, Europe is nuclear because France has got nuclear assets. Okay, I think it's in our time and we have to play in the right way. Just for collaboration, I'm reading that the Institute of Mechanics at the Chinese Academy of Sciences is building a factory for the commercial production of hypersonic engines and a game-changing technology with both military and civilian application. They are open even to private investors. Okay, this is the last news for us. It's time to run, not to stay seated speaking about what we have to do in the future. The future is today.
I'm very glad you raised the issue of agreements and treaties, because we are facing a period when the architecture of arms control is in a way being discussed and being put into doubt by some decisions taken in Washington and in Moscow. I was in a meeting of a very interesting group, European Leadership Network, its name, a few weeks ago, and we were discussing how can we try and draft the principles for new agreements in arms control related to, in general, new technologies. And of course, one of the issues was hypersonic. So the item is under debate. We are making some proposals. The proposals are being put forward to the nations. The level of this group is extremely high, and we can claim that our papers go directly on the desk of Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin. Unfortunately, the Italian participation in this group is limited to a retired diplomat and a retired general. Well, this has to do with the internal political climate in Italy. But this issue is being debated. For sure, there is a need to revitalize the older architecture, possibly with new initiatives, starting from the CFE to the INF to the future of the START. And new technologies must be in the picture. So the need is there. There is a general understanding and awareness of this need. So let's have some goodwill and make some step forward. Thank you.
I thank you all for participation to this roundtable. I thank you for being here and listening our speech. And I will only underline that hypersonic is something that you know very well, by far better than me, but people outside here that knows anything about hypersonic. If you go on the papers, TV, and so on, it's very difficult to find something about hypersonic. So I'm very glad, I'm very happy to have had this possibility in order to know something more and have the possibility to say something to the audience outside here. So thank you to you all, and I give this floor to General.
Thank you very much, Vittorio, and of course thank you to all the distinguished speakers which have been expressing their views and shared with us their knowledge, experience and expertise, including the new, modern, I would hope and say, point of view by our French independent researcher Matteo Fregoli, which we have been happy to have with us. Well, this brings us to the last touch, which is the conclusions of the symposium. I am happy to see that a number of you have assisted so far. You will have a due reward for that, but allow me just a quick roundup. We started off our work with the aim, which has been published, and you can go through the papers, of disseminating and sharing information. A point which has been touched upon by the chair just a few seconds ago. Not many people, not enough, know about this advanced technology, this progress in the hypersonic flights. We have the clear sensation, at least in Italy, that concentration on space, which is of course a very interesting field and should not be put into question, is conducted to deal with hypersonic only in the re-entry phase. The problem has been overcome, and that's been the end of it. We have managed to see from the start bricks which would fall off the little ships coming back. Now they have made much more progress, so no more bricks up there, but little surfaces which overlap one another or are continuous. But still we are with the chariot and wheels. Because we have been told in these 2 days, there are some solutions to be not found, but perfectioned. They need to be brought to the stage of TRL6, if you wish, or 8. I mean, enter the production phase, be readily available. And of course, the competition is with rocket propulsion. Rocket propulsion is like the car we're driving. It's safe, it's known, it's available to everyone. Everyone has the concept of a car, and doesn't make any wonder to have a fancy model of any sort. The same goes for rockets. Rockets have reached a level of maturity that allows anyone to invent now how to generate the thrust in rockets, whether solid, liquid, mixed, gas, methane, whatever. So there is a lot of initiatives, but we are still evolving and revolving around rockets. What we are now trying to do in breaking new ground is to have an alternative source of propulsion energy used in order to overcome gravity, because this is the main issue, which at the same time would allow us to go to space and to come back at the same time without having to change those dials or check every time. We have heard also in those presentations that sometimes when you think about people being inside this very fast thing, they need not be roasted off in order to make the flight successful. We don't want that to happen, of course. And the safety levels nowadays are very high and very challenging, not very easy to overcome. So we have some ground to break, which takes us to the second point. Rugged, robust, making in the military doesn't need such niceties. When you are aiming to have some effective mean of conducting operations, and I'm not qualifying any of those, all you need is to achieve the end game, whatever it takes. Now, in that case, it becomes much easier. You don't have to worry about people being roasted, because there are pieces of metal which might burn on the way out, and might not, and might achieve their target. Or just scare the opposing parties, that's deterrence, and prevention from starting off any negative, competitive, or adversarial confrontation. This is just to say that through these presentations we have been listening to, we have had the opportunity to go, of course, deeper in some aspects. In 2 days, as I said at the beginning, we could not expect to cover just everything, but we wanted to raise the curiosity. We want to disseminate information and to share information. And I think we made at least to a good amount this objective reached. And this thanks, of course, to the speakers which have been alternating at the podium. We also had this ambition of encouraging synergies. I know that is a huge word to use. Synergy, just by definition, makes me feel uneasy. What is synergies between me and Gennaro Russo here? We might talk for a couple of hours, trying to put our efforts together and reach an aim, and then discover that, like Harlan has mentioned, we just don't match. There is no way we can come up with something feasible, affordable, acceptable, but effective. But yet, we have decided to give it a go and try to encourage the research of the synergies. Promote cooperation, another big term to be used. Promote cooperation between who and among whom. We generically have said at the national level and international level, but it is clear from the start, and has been coming up and popping up again and again. No single state is able to afford the expenses, the efforts, the amount of resources needed, not only in economical terms, in money, in cash, but also in terms of ability to find solutions, to put together some solutions which somebody has reached and others have not. So cooperation is something which intrinsically means something beneficial to the parties participating to this process. Another aspect we have also pursued, and I think with a good degree in the achievement, is the supporting the involvement of the younger generation. This is something we continuously discuss among ourselves when we put down the yearly programs and try to figure out how best to encourage participation, to stimulate some involvement. That's a terrible word, because when you speak to people of 20 years, 25 years nowadays, meaning high school, university, it's very difficult to find young students who are willing to take up some kind of responsibility. I'm not afraid to use this word, and I'm not using it in a negative sense. I do think that they need to be encouraged, and an effort has to be made from our side. Here again, I'm looking at Paul, Alan Paul on my right side. It depends on us to try and do our best to make ourselves understood in our efforts and to convey a positive message to encourage them. From the results of our rewards we have made, I think I'm very encouraged to double my efforts personally, and I think also my colleagues and the Students' Award, I would say, because I've heard those presentations, I was really enthusiastic on the way young people can produce brilliant work, and that is very promising for the future. We ventured this time to break new ground, and that was the last panel we had here. We are very happy to have had the opportunity, thanks to the participation of qualified and distinguished speakers, to have a peek at the security aspect of this new opening, in my personal conviction. And given my experience in the arms control and in the deterrence area and the international politics, which I've been following for a few years, as has been shown by our distinguished speakers, I can tell you that there is so much behind to explore, define, discuss, mainly discuss and compare notes upon. Because when I read about some think tanks of free-known levels saying that maybe we should, like it's been mentioned, have a treaty on limiting the spreading of hypersonics, I'm slightly upset. We are talking of some technology which was born a while ago, of course, for military use. But then the development was evolving for civilian use. Now it's going back to military use and all the applications we're dealing with, but basically it's a dual use. It's just technology. It's nothing you can do to prevent it from being developed. It's like the atomic bomb. The atomic energy was there and just needed somebody to open the tank. Now, of course, we are still running after the way to control the reaction, which is the worrying part of the issue. But if somebody manages to do so, then we will have the controlled reactors from the production of electricity. Not for winning wars, but for producing energy and power for 1,000 uses outside. But then again, the efforts and security steps in, and they might just transform what is a widely usable and useful technology in something aimed at. But we, notwithstanding, we insist on sharing the information. I think I took all the allowed time and your patience to go this far, and I will stop here, but please, I need to close this symposium remembering and thanking all our contributors. And when I say contributors, I'm talking first of all about the speakers, which has made a lively discussion, allowing us to learn more. The sponsors, not many, but that helps because we, as I said, we are a voluntary organization. We have no funds on our own. Not necessarily we are of a rich family, so we have to be very careful on how we use our national resources. Of course, we are grateful to our supporters, and among those I do mention the Campania Aerospace District, President Carino and Gennaro Russo present here, which has chosen to support us heavily in this enterprise. But among those, we also have to recognize that the Italian Air Force has given us a great end, without which things would have been much more difficult. And I shall not forget, I don't see a representative here, but even the local branch of the Air Force Association, if somebody calls them in, I would like also them to listen to my remarks. Oh, they're gone? Okay. Well, we'll tell them already again. And we shall not forget the patronage of the Ministry of Defense, of the National Agency for the Civilian Aviation, and the National Agency for the Air Traffic Control, the Center for Military Studies, and the region of Campania Authority, which have given us their patronage. I would like to call here, close to the chair, whoever is left from the personnel which has helped us go through this 2 days' work, be them from the Air Force, the Academy, and the technical support out there, as well as our colleagues from the Roma Due Brodo section. Please, I would like to see you with me here. And yes, Marcello, please come forward. And you too, Pomino. I know you have been running around all the time, but I don't think many noticed that you were moving. Luigi, Matteo, and two ladies who I can't see, but I know they are on the side. Don't be shy. Come here. We want everybody to have a look at you. And as I said, we are a team. Sorry. We are a team. We try our best to do to make things work. Sometimes we succeed. Some of us a little less. But I'm sure you will forgive us. Nobody's perfect, and we are far from being so. So I would like you to join me in thanking the Air Force Academy and the Air Commander sitting here for the hospitality. Thank you. It's an honor for you to forgive us and our little nicely is not perfect. You will find a coffee outside before leaving. And I wish to see you all back next time around. I'm not able to anticipate when. Thank you all, and have a nice day.